Today I'm going to show you how to pounce to prepare your chalk walk drawing. And so what I'm going to have to do is I have to do a little bit of prep work for this method. This is not something that you can come in the day of and kind of just throw together. So you do have to do a little bit of prep work. So what I have done right here, this black piece of paper is, I'm going to pretend like that is my square for my chalk drawing. And what I have done is I've already taped it down to my table, and that'll also help me create a nice clean edge. So taping the edge of your square is going to make sure that your edges, when you peel off that tape, that is the most satisfying thing at the end when you know you're done, to peel that tape off and you'll see this nice clean edge where your chalk line is. So what I'm going to be doing is I have a piece of paper that's the same size as the drawing that I want to do on the day of the chalk walk. So you do have to get some really big paper. You can find craft paper or like bulletin board paper. You can usually find it at like craft stores like Michael's, Joann's, Hobby Lobby, places like that. And so what I'm going to do is on this big piece of paper, and I would do this before showing up on Saturday morning at the chalk walk, and I'm going to draw a really like what my drawing is going to be, and I'm going to keep it nice and simple for us. So I'm just going to do something here. I want to keep it really simple because I don't want to take too long or too much of my time doing this part. Make him a little bit pretty. There we go. Something like that. Very simple for us today. And then what I'm going to do is after I get my drawing finished, I'm going to take a push pin. I have a really great big giant push pin, just to show you guys. I found this one at Staples, so it is a little bit easier to hold than my little tiny push pin. And what I'm going to do is poke holes along all of my lines. Now I'm trying to space out my lines, my holes a little bit, because I don't want them so close together that it becomes confusing. But if I do too few, I may not be able to figure out what was going on in my drawing. So what I'm kind of creating is sort of like a connect the dots. I may not do all of this. I might just do some of it, but I'm gonna get the stem here. Stem my pretty little flower. One of the nice things about this method is that since you are doing so much of the prep work ahead of time, like you're doing this, you know, tomorrow night and Friday night and things like that, you can kind of walk into the chalk walk and you have all this stuff ready and you can just jump to your artwork. So it really means that you spend a lot more time coloring and adding the details of your drawing instead of having to spend hours trying to figure out how big do I make this, or having to, you know, restart your chalk drawing. Now you don't have to get every single line done if you have a lot of details in your drawing. You can just do some of them. It's sort of what you feel like you need to have finished. So you can do parts of your drawing. Try not to stab your fingers as you're doing this. It's kind of up to you. It's sort of what you feel like you need. So if you feel like you can freehand parts of this and you don't have to redraw it, then you could do that. I like to do this on some of the bigger parts of my drawings, parts that I really want those to be the right size or the right shape in proportion, and that's what I use this on. So I don't spend all day having to draw this and poke out holes. It's a really good activity if you have semi-older children, so you're not worried about having them stab each other with the poking hole with the push pins. But this can be a job for the whole family. Get just a little amount more of this done. Almost there. Almost gonna have it done. All right, so I don't have every detail done, but I have a lot of it done. I'm gonna decide, I think it's gonna go this way. So what I'm gonna do now is on the day of the chalk walk, I would come in, I would lay out my tape along my square, sweep my square off so it's nice and clean, and then I would take my drawing, unroll it that day because it's really big, and take some tape and just kind of get it taped in place. It doesn't have to be completely taped down. You just don't want the wind to start taking your paper off while you're in the middle of this. You'll be really sad. So I'm gonna get some of it taped down here. Just so it doesn't blow away. And now I'm gonna take, I would suggest baby powder. Now baby powder is white, and I didn't want to use white on top of this because I was afraid you wouldn't be able to see it. So what I did is I actually took a piece of some color chalk. So I took a piece of colored chalk that you're going to be getting on the day of, and I just rubbed it on my paper and created dust, and then I just kind of scooped it all together. So you can use colored chalk, but this is going to be a pretty big square. I think the smallest you can go is 4 by 4, and maybe the biggest you can go is about 9 by 9. That's 9 feet, not 9 inches. Okay, so you don't want to really have to spend all day creating dust like this. It would take you a long time. But I'm just doing that just to show you. So then what I would do is I would dump my baby powder on my paper. Again, I'm using blue so you can see it. And I would spray my baby powder everywhere, and I'd take my hands and just press the dust all over my drawing so that it fills in the holes. I don't know if I made enough dust, but we'll get the idea. Okay, maybe I'll add a little dust there. There we go. Okay, so, and then of course you have nice messy hands. This is what baby wipes are for. So I always bring a big old thing of baby wipes with me the day of so I can get clean. Then take the paper off. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the drawing off after I've rubbed the dust in. And you should be able to see, it's a little bit faint, but you should be able to see these little dots showing up. And now it's like a game of connect the dots. And I just have to take my chalk and go back and connect those dots together. See, it looks like it was kind of going like that. I don't know. Sometimes it gets a little bit confusing, especially if you kind of forget what your drawing looked like, but most of the time you can kind of figure it out. Something going like that, and then I think so I can just barely see some of those dots. Okay, I've got that in, and then I have this started and I can start going. I really do recommend on the day of that you do use the white baby powder, you'll really show up nicely. It's a lot easier to do. And also, when you're sketching out your drawing, I always suggest using white, because if you add other colors on top of white, it's really not going to change the color. If you start trying to add other colors on top of blue, well, you may not have wanted blue on that, and then you got to try and mix blue in, get a little messy. And your blues, those are those bright colors. You really want to save those. White is one of those that's really just not going to make a difference.